These long dog days of summer, I mean, we just made it through a heat wave. Mama was parched through this heat wave. I was hitting up Dunkin' every single day, and I will continue to probably for the rest of my days, but especially this summer. Dunkin' is helping everyone stay cool this summer with its lineup of refreshers. These drinks are packed with bold, fruity flavors and served ice cold. It's amazing. Dunkin' refreshers are the perfect afternoon pick-me-up. I like to start my morning with them personally, and then sometimes I go back for a second one because I'm just feeling crazy. They come in a variety of delicious flavors, including fan favorites mango pineapple and strawberry dragon fruit. And then for a limited time, there's black cherry and there's pink pineapple. I'm going to tell you something right now, and it's a bold claim, let me tell you, but I stand behind it. Pink pineapple will change your life. It is so good. It has me feeling like I'm sitting in a pool, resort side, just living, honey. It's so yummy. Try your favorite flavor with green tea, sparkling water, lemonade, or Dunkin's all-new limeade. I haven't tried the limeade yet, but I'm going to. Usually I get my drinks made with green tea and occasionally lemonade, but I do really like the green tea. Or if you don't want to build your own, try one of Dunkin's curated refreshers like the Cherry Lime Ricky or the Ultimate Pink Daydream. The Cherry Lime Ricky, scrumptious. I could drink like 3 of these a day. They're so freaking yummy. Head to Dunkin' today and find your favorite refresher. Dunkin' refreshers contain less than 1% fruit juice. Limited time offer. Every good detective needs a partner to support them on important cases. Think of a State Farm agent like your sidekick, there to help you along the way in your search for coverage. State Farm can help you choose the coverage you need, whether it's for your home, car, boat, or even RV. With so many options, it's nice knowing you have help finding what fits for you so you can get back to solving all of life's bigger cases. Go to statefarm.com or use the award-winning app to connect with a local agent and get a quote. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
This episode is brought to you by SoFi, the all-in-one finance app where you can bank, borrow, and invest. It's time to achieve your financial ambitions. Earn more on your savings with a SoFi Bank high-yield savings account, ditch your high-interest credit card debt with a SoFi personal loan, or start investing on an easy-to-use platform with SoFi Invest. Wherever you are on your financial journey, SoFi's got you covered. Learn more at SoFi.com/SXM.
Hey, weirdos, I'm Ash.
And I'm Elena.
And this is Morbid.
It is.
I did that thing where I almost said, hi, I'm Elena.
Hi, I'm Elena.
Just, hey, I'm Elena.
That's it.
That's
Welcome.
That's the
Whoa. That's the that on that.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
I
Holy
figured.
shit.
I figured that's what you were going for. Just tried to help you out there for a second. Just taking a sip of her iced coffee. So she's like, you keep talking.
Keep going.
Don't you let anyone hear me swallow that iced coffee.
Oh God, I hate the thought of people like hearing me chew or swallow or anything.
It's true. I don't like mouth noises.
No, and most people don't. And
I don't think so.
I don't think anybody's like, ooh, yay, mouth noise.
Oh, yay, a mouth noise.
My favorite.
Ooh.
I also just needed that coffee because, wow, I could not get a sentence out.
It's true.
But here we are. It's morbid.
Yeah.
I have a pretty tough one today. It's a sad, sad story.
Oh, good.
But yeah.
Maybe before we start, I'll just quickly say there's a TikTok account that you guys should follow.
Oh, she's good at that. Listen to
Yeah,
her.
I haven't done it in a while.
Yeah, you haven't. TikTok recommendation corner with Elena. Who's up?
Oh, there's 2 actually.
What?
There's
2?
2. So my first is like for all, especially parents out there.
Oh, is it?
Annalee.
Yeah.
Annalee. Annalee. She's hilarious. She's like the realist parent account.
She is.
You will follow.
I feel like even if you don't have kids, but like you want kids or like you're involved in kids' lives in a big way,
then you'll
she's a
love
great
her.
follow.
Yeah, she's a great follow. I highly suggest it. Very entertaining, very sweet. And every time I watch her videos, I'm like, can we hang out though? Like, can we be mom friends? I would really like to be. So Annalee, if you're listening, can we be mom friends?
Can you guys be mom friends and then I can be like your non-mom friend for a little bit?
I want that. And Annalee and a bunch of other TikTok moms hung out in like South Carolina.
I know one of my other
couple weeks
favorite
ago.
mom TikToks
Yes.
was there. I can't think of her name, and I'm so bad at that.
Lost my mind when I saw it because they were all my favorites, and I was like, I
Yes.
want to come.
The mom with like the super curly hair who's pregnant right now.
Oh my God, yes.
Cutest woman alive, funniest woman alive.
And you know what? We'll make sure to
me
share. Yeah, Ash
keep
is going to look
talking.
for it because you got to follow these ladies
These
because they're
mamas.
just genuinely hilarious women. They're doing awesome things, and I highly suggest supporting the shit out of them.
I agree. Who was the other person that you
So
were
the
gonna
other
shout out?
one is if you're feeling, if you're feeling witchy or if you're interested in witchiness, there's an account called Down the Witch's Way.
Oh, hell yeah. We literally just did one of their
Yeah, and
spells.
he has the most soothing voice. My goodness.
Couple of books.
He has a couple books that I have.
Yep.
I purchased them because he is that good. And he's just, he's a delightful human to watch his TikToks. Mm-hmm. And I think he needs more followers. So
I agree.
go take a peek at it if you're feeling like you want some easy little, spells, or you just want to listen to a soothing man tell you wonderful things. This man is it.
You could do that. You could do
Down
all
the
of that.
Witch's Way.
So good.
Yeah.
I love his spells. And then the mom that I was just talking about is at the Vondy fam. It's the VONDYFAM.
Hilarious.
And that page is so funny. She is hilarious. She makes up like songs and stuff, and it just cracks me
she's
up.
really funny.
And again, like even if you're not a mom, but like you love kids or
just a very, very good accounts to follow that'll just make you smile.
Exactly.
And make you laugh. If you're looking for a laugh or looking for a smile or looking to learn some things, those are some good pages.
I'm
So,
gonna cast a fucking spell.
so do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
I was thinking of does anybody remember the video where the little boy was like, so do is it? Just do is it? I can't find that video anywhere now. And we used to say it all the time.
You showed me it.
Wow.
But yeah, those are our little internet recommendations of the hour. And now that we've brought you up,
We're gonna bring you
right
down.
back down. I don't
Okay.
know this one, so I am totally in the dark.
I also hadn't heard of this one. A couple people requested it, so I said, sure beans, totally.
Sure beans.
And then me and Dave started working on it, and we were like, wow, this is so
Wow.
tragic and terrible, but
Oh, no.
an interesting story nonetheless.
Okay.
And definitely, I just want to say at the beginning of this, I have a few like mental health things that I'm going to plug at the end, so definitely stay tuned for those outlets.
Okay.
So we're going to be talking about Hayward Bissell today and the murder of Patricia Booher. It is a particularly gruesome one, so just please be warned. So Hayward William Bissell was born March 28th, 1962 in New London, Ohio. I think I had said you did like an Ohio case recently, and I was like, oh my God, my next one is Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
But I ended up doing something before that.
So this is the Ohio one.
Yeah, this is the one I was talking about. But Hayward was the second of 3 children born to Howard and Magdalena, better known as Maggie Bissell. Altogether, though, there were 4 children in the house, actually, because Maggie had brought a son from her previous marriage. Now, Howard, he spent almost 20 years serving in the U.S. Army before finally getting discharged, and that's when the family settled down in Ohio.
Okay.
Now, once they were kind of settled, he went to work at the Ford plant in Sandusky. And from the sounds of it, Maggie stayed at home and raised the kids. And I'm sure she definitely had her hands full. And she definitely did, actually, because by most accounts, Hayward was a pretty difficult child from an early age. A family member recalled his childhood and told reporters he was always griping. He griped as a child and he griped as an adult.
Fun.
Yeah. According to more family members, he also had a constant struggle with authority. Whether it was an authority figure at home, at school, at work, he just did not want to deal with and would not deal with any kind of authority.
That's not easy to deal with.
No. And it was probably for that very reason that it made it really difficult for him to hold down a job. The family later said he abhors work and avoids working.
Wow.
And his attitude made it so that he was constantly involved in some kind of conflict, some kind of argument, always had an issue with somebody. And that person usually for like the first half of his life was his father. Their relationship for probably that reason, and I'm sure many others, was very, very strained. There was a lot of different reports about Hayward's childhood, but a lot of them were kind of unreliable because they all said different things. But that speculation does make a bit of sense that there was issues with the father. And one relative wondered if Hayward's behavioral problems could have come from, or at the very least been exacerbated by, quote, a couple of minor accidents as a child that might have resulted in concussions.
That's always a trigger, I feel.
Yeah, but I mean, he must have been growing up in the late 60s, early 70s. So
Yeah.
I don't think they had a great understanding of what that did or what that could do.
I mean, up until very recently, they would tell you to wake the kid up every hour when they hit their head.
Right.
And now they tell you something totally different.
Oh,
So,
I didn't even realize
yeah,
that.
that changed as well. Like, obviously, I'm sure there's different things, but like, they tell you to like just make sure that they rouse correctly, but you don't need to wake them up, especially not for like a minor head knock, you know?
That makes sense.
We were always like so crazy. Like, whenever the kids would like bump their head,
Oh, yeah.
we would be like, we need to wake them up every 20 minutes.
I don't blame you, though, because
Yeah,
it's like
scary.
Yeah, you're nervous. Exactly.
Especially a new parent. You're like, Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Trailing off.
Well, in general, like if you think your kid whacked their head hard enough,
Yeah.
like that's really nerve wracking. And in fact, I'm about to say something about that.
There you go.
There was one incident in particular where he had fallen so hard that afterwards he told a family member he got down on his knees and saw a bright light.
Oh.
That's how hard he had fallen.
Oh.
So that's like definitely concussion territory.
It's pretty hard.
At the very least.
Yeah.
And if that was one concussion of many, the mental illness that kind of plagued his life afterwards, and especially when he was an adult, I think could have started in early childhood.
Yeah, there certainly could have been a correlation.
You know?
Who's to say?
So by the time he reached high school, Hayward had a reputation as a difficult and sort of hot and cold student. And I think this was definitely during a time where people did not understand mental health struggles.
Yeah.
And it seemed very clear that he was struggling mentally and
But it's just like he's lazy.
he's lazy. He
Yeah.
doesn't like he doesn't like authority. He doesn't like this. And I think had he gotten help, I don't think this story would have played out the way
That's
that it
sad.
did. It's very sad. But the thing was, if he was interested in the subject, he would actually do pretty well in the class. But if he didn't care or wasn't interested in the subject, he would just mess around. He would distract people in the class and he'd
Yeah.
end up failing or just getting kicked out.
Okay.
So he ended up dropping out after his sophomore year, which probably had something to do with his increasingly heavy drug use and alcohol abuse around that same time. And that's another thing that I think, again, exacerbated the issues that probably were already there.
For sure.
Now, in 1979, when he was 18, he enlisted in the Army. And at first, he was stationed in Cleveland, Ohio, but he did eventually get transferred to Germany, which is weird.
Oh, yeah. The Joe
Because-
Matheny.
You were just talking about that, and he probably didn't get stationed in Germany.
Yeah, we don't think he did at least. There's no-
Hayward did.
Oh, that's wild. And Joe Matheny's childhood was very like, I'm not sure exactly what happened because there's different reports too. So
it's
that's
interesting.
Weird.
Yeah, and they end up both being very brutal people.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was there in Germany that he trained as, this is really cool in my opinion, a motor transport operator and a rifleman. But strangely enough, Hayward, he didn't seem to struggle with authority as much when he was in the Army.
Oh.
I don't know if, I don't really know why that was.
Yeah, that's strange, but who's to say?
Who's
Again.
to say? I don't know if it was just one of those things where he was like, I have to do this. I don't really have a choice.
Yeah,
so
I know.
I
at
just
that
got to
point.
get through it and I might as well like do it. Or if it was because he was interested in what he was working on.
That could have been it. Maybe.
Exactly. I think it was probably all the structure involved. I think if there's structure, that tends to help. But not only was he staying out of trouble at this point in his life, but he was actually succeeding in ways that he never had before. The more and more I'm talking about this, it is kind of reminding me of Joe Matheny.
Yeah.
He ended up being honored 2 times with the Army Achievement Medal for excelling in specialties.
Wow.
And unfortunately, though, his positive experiences in the Army would be short-lived. And really the first and only time in his life where he wasn't involved in any kind of conflict or some kind of trouble.
Oh, that sucks.
But it's so sad because it's clear that, like, obviously he could succeed in some areas. Like,
that's why none of these things, you can really not make sense, like heads or tails of these kind of stories. Because
Yeah.
it's like, would it have stopped you? Would it not have? Like, what would have taken to put you on the right path? What is there a right path for you? Like, you
Yeah.
know, like these kind of things are always just like, huh.
it's one of
wonder.
those things where you can argue nature, you can argue nurture.
It's all
but
speculation.
they're both at play. You
Yeah.
know?
It's all speculation.
Exactly, because who are we to say?
Who's to say?
I'm not an armchair expert like Dax Shepard.
Exactly.
But I do
Neither
love
am
that
I.
show. Another
I
great
love
podcast
Dax.
recommendation.
True.
Same. But anyways, in 1985, Hayward was actually honorably discharged, and he went back home to Ohio, where he got a job working as a security guard at a factory in Toledo, which is really fun to say. Toledo. He got another gig after that working at the Fannie Farmer Candy Factory in Norwalk, and it wasn't long before he met a lady that struck his fancy. Her name was Sherry Brown, and they got married very quickly. And after they got married, they moved to Norwalk, Ohio, and a year later, they had a child together, a daughter named Crystal. Trigger warning coming up for domestic violence.
Ooh.
The newlywed period where you're just happy to be husband and wife and everything is beautiful, la-di-da-do, it did not last long for them. Just 1 year after Crystal was born, Hayward started verbally and physically abusing Sherry.
That's fucked up.
Which, like, I can't imagine you just have a baby with someone
1-year-old.
you think you're in love with, and then that's when they start being cruel to you. Like, that's when the facade drops.
That's awful.
But things actually got so bad that she filed for and was awarded a restraining order, against Hayward. But she ended up dropping the order just 8 days after it was granted, and she did go back. I'm sure she was very scared.
Yeah, of course. You never know those situations.
No. And according to her brother, Leonard, the abuse only got worse after the restraining order was lifted. He told a reporter from the Sandusky Register, "I know he was very dominating," speaking about Hayward. "He made my sister eat food from the floor like a dog.
Oh my God.
He beat her. He used to do lots of weird stuff." And what's really sad is during this time, her own family was having a hard time believing her about everything that was happening. I think because it was so... like
extreme.
Over and exactly so extreme that they were like, what?
And was he putting on like a good front for them?
I think
That's the
he
thing.
must have been.
Yeah, I'm sure he was able to.
Exactly. And
Oh God, that's awful.
So they weren't believing the details of the abuse necessarily. And it was only after Hayward ended up being arrested that they realized Sherry was telling them the truth the entire time.
And that poor baby.
That poor baby having to grow up in that environment. I didn't find anything to say that like she was involved, the baby, and I can only hope that she wasn't.
Well, and I feel so bad for
Sherry.
both of them, for Sherry too, because it's like I'm sure Sherry just wanted to protect that baby, and it's like an impossible situation.
Exactly. Getting scared is one thing. Getting a thrill is, well, you want more of those in your life. The Genesis GV70 is built to thrill, baby. A thrilling yet elegant design always makes driving the GV70 an exciting adventure. Its powerful athletic stance screams performance and turns heads. Everybody's looking at you, girl, or boy, or whoever. Command the road and experience a class-leading standard 300 horsepower. Oh my God. Plus, discover the different dynamic drive modes for all different terrains. Choose between the different terrain modes for whatever road conditions you may encounter. The Genesis GV70's award-winning technology and performance lets you drive with comfort and drive with confidence all at the same time. It's an exciting SUV with intuitive tech that can make your ride smooth even when the road isn't. And its blind spot cameras allow you to see what's next to you. It's like having eyes on the side of your head. That's pretty iconic. Its performance, by the way, is measured not only in power, but in how it makes you feel confident, sexy. The Genesis GV70. Learn more at genesis.com and feel the GV70. Every good detective needs a partner to support them on important cases. Think of a State Farm agent like your sidekick, there to help you along the way in your search for coverage. State Farm can help you choose the coverage you need, whether it's for your home, car, boat, or even RV. With so many options, it's nice knowing you have help finding what fits for you so you can get back to solving all of life's bigger cases. Go to statefarm.com or use the award-winning app to connect with a local agent and get a quote. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. So in January of 1989, she did file for another restraining order after an argument got so bad that he slapped her across the face and ended up throwing her into the refrigerator. Not like inside of it, but like onto it.
You have to be like such a huge piece of shit to abuse your spouse.
100%.
Like obviously you have to be a huge piece of shit to abuse anybody, but like someone you're
person you're
married
supposed to
to,
love.
I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Like you took
what is wrong with
vows
you?
to accept them for who they are, to love them no matter
And
what.
you can't
to
handle
work on
your own anger. Like you're that fucking. It's just like grow up.
No, it's
like, learn to manage your own emotions, buddy.
Go get help if you're having a problem regulating your emotions.
Get
you know
help.
that, like you realize that inside of yourself, and you need to go get help.
And you need to come up with like ways to regulate it. Go take a walk outside. Go do something.
Yeah.
Count to 10. Like figure out ways that work for you to calm it down before you lose it on someone, because that's not cool in any sense of the word.
That's why I personally feel like everybody should just go to therapy, because you figure out ways to calm yourself down before you even know that you're pissed off about something. You know,
it makes sense.
But it's so sad. She, in the affidavit filed, Sherry wrote, "He slapped me and I started to scream. Then he pushed me up against the wall and hit both sides of my head. I got in the shower and told him to leave me alone. He slapped me again on the side of the head and banged my head against the shower and knocked me down." Like, this is what he's doing to his wife.
Well, that's the thing. I'm just picturing her like this is the person that you love.
And a love enough to, like, welcome a baby into the world.
That stuff always really stresses me out to hear, because it's just like, I can't. Like, the fear that must come with that and the loneliness, I can't imagine.
The fear, the loneliness, the lack of trust that you would have in your next relationship if you even trusted somebody enough to get into one a second time.
I just feel bad that anybody goes through that.
It's just fucked up. But so she ended up filing for another restraining order, like I said. And this time, once it was granted, she had no fucking intention of dropping it or going back.
Good for her.
And she was going to up the ante this time because she filed for divorce.
Good.
Now, at first, when he was served the divorce papers, Hayward was in shock.
Yeah.
I'm like, you were really shocked by this news. He told Sherry's brother, Leonard, "I can't understand, after so many years of loving her, why she wants to divorce me."
Huh.
Like, you have been married 3 years, and it sounds like you made a majority of those years a living hell for her. Like, you did not love her. Love is not hitting somebody repeatedly in the face. And also, he was trying to kind of like fuck with her name, and he was constantly accusing her of having an affair with one of her friends. And she was like, "I'm not having an affair." In another report made to the Norwalk police, Leonard, her brother there, claimed, "Hayward is telling people in front of me and to me that Sherry is gay and she left him for another woman, which I can say she's not."
What the
Like, why are you just making random stuff up about her?
Like, just go your separate ways, man.
That's the thing. But either way, regardless of all his protests and claims of Sherry being stepping out on him and everything, the divorce was granted on March 29th, 1989. And luckily, Sherry was awarded full custody of Crystal.
I was going to say, I'm very glad that she was able to get out of there, because sometimes that is the most dangerous, most of the time, that is the most dangerous part of the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Is when you file or when you plan to.
Well, and what makes me sad is, so she did get full custody of Crystal, but a few weeks after everything was finalized, the agreement was modified, and Hayward actually ended up getting granted custody on alternate weekends and holidays, which she must have been terrified to send her daughter over there.
How do you let a child be with any person who is violent?
Especially toward women. And
That's
it's
the
his
thing,
daughter.
and it's a daughter. It's like
no matter
regardless
what.
Of which way it goes, if that other person is violent and has been proven to be violent,
they should not be anywhere
they should
near
not
a child.
be able to be around that child.
Unless it's supervised and like they're in a program getting help.
Exactly.
So the divorce seemed to settle the conflict between Sherry and Hayward. I think they must have just gone their separate ways and kind of let the court handle it from the sounds of it, which I think in that situation was the best way to go. But at the same time, it definitely marked a downward spiral for Hayward into more violence, more bizarre behavior that hinted at bigger mental health problems to come. In 1990, his parents moved from Ohio to Florida, and their relationship for like the past couple of years with him had gotten increasingly strained, especially leading up to their move. But at the same time, they were also the only people he had to lean on when it came to managing his symptoms, and his symptoms were getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
So once they were gone, the changes in him were completely undeniable. And his life, it just became a series of bizarre events, threatening events. He was having violent exchanges with people, acquaintances, friends, doctors, strangers sometimes.
Oof.
And he didn't really have anybody around him at this point to like get him into a program.
I was going to say,
and he wasn't.
Sounds like it's really tanking here.
It's getting worse. Now, it was during this time that he was, like I'm saying right now, showing decline. And in late 1991, his landlord at the Dreamland Motel, where he ended up living, called the police and reported that Hayward made multiple strange and frightening threats. According to the landlord, Hayward stole the landlord's mail and cut it up into little pieces. And he said he did this because he was convinced that his landlord was returning his mail, like Hayward's mail, to the post office. And the landlord was like, no, I'm not doing that at all. Like, I haven't touched his mail.
See, and it's these kind of things, these like strange behaviors that are always the things that it's like,
it's leading up to
you
something
wish someone's
bigger.
radar would go up. But again, and especially in this country, mental health is not where it needs to be, like to be remedied. You know what I mean? Like, it's not easy to get resources. It's like
stigmatized.
It still sucks.
People don't want to admit sometimes like what they're going through because of the stigma.
And not everyone has access to the help they need or the help that would stop somebody from going down these kind of paths.
And sadly, right now, especially like in America, we're in such a mental health crisis now.
After the pandemic.
Beds aren't available. Psychiatrists aren't available. It's fucked. Like, it's sad.
Yeah, it really is.
I really hope that some of the sources that I ended up putting in the bottom, if anybody is going through something,
Hopefully
I hope
they can be of help.
they can find help there.
Because I feel like therapists are probably overrun right now.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't imagine how their mental health is going, like with their caseloads, you know?
Exactly. My therapist that I used to see said that she had a therapist herself.
Oh, I'm sure.
And like, I can't imagine having to take on all of those problems and then be like, and like not internalize them, you know?
Of course.
But during this incident, where the cutting up of the mail was going on, the landlord called his wife into the room to be a witness of the exchange. And at that point, Hayward told the couple, and this is like racist, so trigger warning. He said, I don't like people from foreign countries. I'm going to kill one of them when it gets dark. I'm going to hurt somebody. I'm going to hurt them or their children.
Oh.
So that's when the landlord called the police.
Oh, thank goodness they took that step.
Yeah. But shortly before this incident with his landlord, Hayward's second wife, Teresa, she started noticing a dramatic shift in his behavior because he got married a second time. They got married in 1991. And just after the wedding, like he had with his first wife, he started abusing her, getting argumentative, picking fights, and then started making weird threats or just being generally menacing. Now, weirdly, the abusive behavior was not the main cause for the end of their relationship. What really ended the relationship was Hayward's slow shift toward isolation, and he was becoming like very obsessive about his environment. He wanted to control everything in the environment. According to Teresa, Hayward, quote, got to where he never wanted to go out, and he was very particular about putting things where they belonged. He wanted everything done in his way. So they went their separate ways because of this, but they actually never formally divorced.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
They were technically still married, but very much separated when Hayward started dating Patricia Booher years later.
Okay.
So in the years that followed the breakdown of Hayward's second marriage and kind of like the incidents where he was living, he was hospitalized for mental health treatment several times. And, quote, with the diagnosis usually listed as paranoid schizophrenia, which is really sad. His symptoms almost always included acute paranoia, and he believed that people were either watching him, following him, or bugging his apartment.
That's so scary.
It is. In one of the instances, he told doctors, quote, he had been given truth serum in a shot and in candy. And then in another, he told his doctors he believed that, quote, his alarm clock and his mind were being controlled by satellites, and said that certain people in town were trying to bite off his penis.
Wow.
So he was really, really going through it. But the thing was, more often than not, the periods where he was hospitalized, they were actually him volunteering to get help and like going into these programs. Like the first move was initiated by Hayward himself. And it was amazing that he was willing to get help, but because of the state of his mental health, he didn't always want to stay once he got there. And while the doctors maybe wanted him to stay longer, there wasn't a lot they could do back then because all of this was a voluntary basis.
Yeah.
And what only exacerbated things further was that he was prescribed medicine to manage his symptoms, but he didn't always take it consistently.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have like an aide that lives with him. He doesn't have a doctor that's coming out to check on him routinely. It's just him.
Or just anyone that's like around him taking care of that.
Yeah, he doesn't have anybody. So that was obviously going to lead to a lot of bigger issues. This whole story is really sad for everybody involved.
Yeah, truly.
Now, in the late 90s, he was living in Greenwich, Ohio, and he was having a lot of run-ins with the police. I think it's Greenwich. It might be Greenwich, but I said Greenwich.
Yeah.
Because we have a Greenwich here.
We do.
Yeah. So he was having frequent run-ins with the police during this time. There was a lot of sudden outbursts. There was a lot of inappropriate behavior going on. And he actually got to know the police chief, Randall Kilgore, pretty well. And because of this, Randall actually recognized Hayward's symptoms of mental illness. And I think he kind of like would keep tabs on him a little more because he knew that he was by himself. Now, on one occasion, Hayward walked into this officer's office and reported that something evil had taken hold of him. He said he couldn't tell the chief what it was because it was, quote unquote, confidential. And that was actually his second run-in with Hayward that same day. The first run-in was when Hayward was discovered sitting in the front seat of the mayor's car in the like city hall parking lot.
Oh my.
So clearly this was escalating.
Yeah.
And the thing was, for the most part, aside from the struggles within the marriage and the domestic abuse, afterwards, his behavior was strange and it was off-putting for residents in the small town, but it was usually just minor disturbances that were going on. But in December of 1998, that all changed when police in Newark, Ohio, received a call about a man with a gun causing problems at a place called Nick's Saloon.
Oh boy.
Now, when the officers arrived at the bar, they were approached by a man who said somebody else in the parking lot had been following his car closely for miles, and he didn't know why. Now, when they approached the driver of the other vehicle, it turned out to be Hayward Bissell, and he told the officers he couldn't tell them why he was following this man. He said, again, it's confidential.
Oh boy.
So in his mind, he was on these, like, missions, basically, but obviously it was due to the schizophrenia that he was suffering from. So in the spring of 1999, he was hospitalized again after a small fire on the stove of his apartment set off the fire alarms in that apartment in Greenwich. And he told the investigators he'd been smoking pot, and that interacted with his already prescribed medication. And the fire started because he fell asleep with a pot still on the stove.
Oh.
Now, when he woke up, whatever was in the pot had caught fire, and he ended up with a burn on his arm. So he got treated for the burn. And while he was being treated, he definitely seemed to be kind of out of it. And the doctors were very concerned about his behavior. So he got admitted for a psychiatric evaluation and treatment. Now, during this inpatient stay, Hayward told his doctors that it was actually federal agents that had set fire in his apartment. And he said that the government was taking away his special powers. So he's starting to really go through it.
Yeah.
But sadly, that was another short stay in the hospital that didn't really do much to alleviate his symptoms. And in no time, he was out again and left to his own devices. Now, later that spring, one of his former girlfriends actually introduced him to a woman named Patricia, better known as Patty Booher. Like Hayward, she had a pretty difficult life. In her case, though, it was for very different reasons. She grew up in Olena, Ohio, and she spent a lot of her early years surrounded by family, but she did not come from the best family.
Oh, no.
One of her family members was sexually abusing her until the abuse was discovered and they went to prison for it.
Oh, God.
But at school and in the community, she was very well liked. She did struggle with cognitive impairments, and at school she was identified as a student with special needs. So she had people at school and in the community that looked out for her a little bit more.
Yeah.
But because of her, what she felt like were impairments, she was self-conscious and kind of shy around other people. Now, as she got older, she became a lot more scared of men in particular, I think because of what she
imagine why.
had gone through.
Yeah.
Her diaries from the mid to late 90s suggest that she'd gone through a lot of traumatic events that caused her to form these negative associations with men and intimacy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, those negative experiences were probably triggered again in 1994 when her father, Vernon, was arrested for sexually abusing two girls that lived nearby. He was a terrible, terrible man. He literally had bad to the bone tattooed on his forehead. And when he got arrested, it was almost like he was proud to admit what he had done.
Oh, that's fucking disgusting.
Fucking horrible.
Throw him in a dank cave.
And it's unclear whether or not he had sexually abused Patty as well. But either way, his behavior had to have made her fears and her trauma even worse. When he was evaluated for a sex offender treatment program, this is how much of a monster he was. He failed to meet the criteria, quote, because he did not have the mental capacity to meaningfully engage in it.
What?
Like, they were like, he cannot be helped. Like, he needs to be in prison.
Wow.
He cannot be reformed.
Wow.
That's how fucked up this is.
That's horrifying.
Now, at the same time, so Patty had all these diary entries where there was a clear signs that she was like very afraid of men and nervous about intimacy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there were other ones where she was longing for affection and attention from a partner. Like, of course.
Because she probably just wanted it to feel like it
feel
was
right.
Yeah, like exactly. Feel right.
You know?
Like she was like, I want this, but
not
it's
like
scary.
this.
Yeah.
And this is all she's ever really known is people taking advantage of her. But unfortunately, and I mean, most likely because of the trauma that she'd experienced, she kind of struggled when it came to distinguishing positive attention from negative.
Yeah.
And she had a tendency to put her in the company of abusive or manipulative men.
That's sad.
It is. Her Aunt
That
Betty.
people took advantage of that.
Of course, absolutely. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
Her Aunt Betty would later say she was never a very good judge of character when it came to boyfriends.
Oh.
And it's like, I just wish that she had more people to help her out, you know,
Yeah,
more
right?
people for backup, being like,
Exactly.
hey, I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
But by December 1999, Patty had been dating Hayward for a few months, and she was feeling very optimistic about their future. She wrote in one diary entry, "There is a man in my life that I love with all my heart and soul." But then she goes on in other entries to say things about them hadn't been going so well lately around this December 1999 period. And she was wondering at this point if it was time for them to split up.
Oh, geez.
But she almost seemed like empowered in later entries when she wanted to get away from Hayward. It was like she wanted more for herself, and it almost seemed like she was realizing that she could get more for herself.
And convincing herself that she was worth it.
Yeah. She said, "I can't go on depressed anymore. I feel like I have received a wonderful blessing. I'm in touch with myself now."
Oh.
So it seemed like she was kind of getting there.
Yeah.
Now, by the winter, she was still unsure about her relationship with Hayward. On one hand, she was very determined to build a positive future for herself that didn't involve volatile or abusive men or people taking advantage of her.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, she still wanted a partner. She still wanted somebody to love her. And she also really wanted to start a family, which is awful. And the latter feeling, I think, definitely explains why she was hesitant to break things off with Hayward.
Yeah.
But still, the fact that the relationship was having struggles was clear, especially to her family. One of her cousins, Rebecca, later pointed out, usually when she had a boyfriend, she would bring him over here. She never brought him over here, talking about Hayward.
Yeah.
In the 6 months that Patty and Hayward Bissell dated, multiple of her friends and acquaintances warned her that he did have a history of erratic, threatening, and violent behavior. And they were like, "We're worried about you."
Yeah.
But she was either unable to or didn't want to see these issues.
Yeah.
She was very committed to making things work. And by January 2000, she was even more determined to make things work because she had achieved her dream of starting a family. She was pregnant. Now, on January 22nd, she called a ton of her friends to let them know that she was pregnant, that she and Hayward were expecting. They were more than likely confused and very concerned about this because things weren't going well at this point. Patty had actually told her friends on numerous occasions right before this that she was planning on breaking things off with him. He was controlling, he was critical, he was abusive to her at times, and she was usually afraid of him.
Oh, that's awful.
So her friends were really worried. But every time she tried to break things off, he would do something, say something that convinced her to stay.
Yep.
And now there was another person involved in all of this, so she wanted to make this work. Now, this is where the story kind of gets a little bit confusing. It's kind of unclear what happened here because they go on a road trip. So what we can assume is that Hayward must have wanted to tell his parents the news in person. And he told them that he and his girlfriend, Patty, were going to take a trip down to Florida to see them. They actually hadn't seen Hayward in like 5 years at this point.
Oh, wow.
And they didn't know why he was coming to see them. They just all of a sudden heard that he was coming and they were excited to see him.
Okay.
Howard, the father, later told the Sandusky Register, "We expected him to visit, but he never showed." So later, while he was being held at the county jail, Hayward would tell investigators that Patty didn't know where they were going. She just knew they were going for a drive.
Oh, geez.
So she wasn't prepared. Remember, they're in Ohio and they're driving to Florida. She wasn't prepared for this. And she's pregnant. So they left Ohio on the afternoon of January 22nd. And that day they made it as far as Chattanooga, Tennessee. And that night they stopped for the night at a motel. But they didn't have any money to pay for a room. So they slept in their car in the parking lot.
Okay.
Now, the next morning, they woke up to some pretty gnarly weather. There was an ice storm the night before that had passed through, so everything was covered in a thin sheet of ice, which was going to make the drive more dangerous to finish. And because of that, Hayward was very on edge.
Yeah.
Because he was, like, irritated about the weather conditions. And to make things worse, he was already irritated before this with Patty. He was mad because she hadn't brought any money along for the trip.
I'm sorry, dude. What the fuck are you doing?
And also, you didn't tell her that you were
She had
going
no
on
idea
a
where
trip.
you were going.
You thought you were going on a drive. She
Yeah.
probably thought you were going to get fucking ice cream or something. Like,
What the hell?
she was not prepared for this.
No, of course not.
But I think he must have been in a mental state where that was not computing. Like this was all just a disaster.
Truly.
A traumatic disaster. But again, she didn't even know they were going to be gone overnight.
Yeah.
So he's mad that she doesn't have money. He's mad about the
ice
weather
storm.
conditions. And he just starts driving kind of aimlessly. He was looking for a Western Union so that he could ask his parents to send money so that they could finish their drive.
Oy.
Now, eventually they reach Summerville, Georgia. It's a small town not too far from the Alabama border. And it was there that they stopped for coffee at a Burger King around 7:30 in the morning. And when Hayward pulled up to the drive-through window, he asked the lady at the register whether there was a flea market in town where he could buy, quote, weapons, guns, knives, and stuff.
Oh.
And she told him that there was a flea market, but that they didn't sell weapons at the market. And she said, you could probably kind of find something of that sort at the local pawn shop, like one of the pawn shops.
What a strange interaction.
Yeah, I can't imagine at 7:30 in the morning being asked that question. I can't imagine being asked that question really ever.
No.
And especially not at a Burger King.
No, definitely not.
Fucking love Burger King. But he told her a pawn shop would take too long to deal with. So she was like, okay, I would try maybe one of the markets just over the border in
I'd
Alabama.
just be like, I don't know what to tell you guys.
Exactly. She's like, I'm just here to give you coffee. So she was like, yeah, like cross the border in Alabama, find one of the markets. Here's some kind of rough directions. Now, after that, Hayward drove around for a while until he spotted a woman who was driving a green Nissan Maxima. And for some reason, he started following her as she drove. And then she pulled into her driveway at her house, and he pulled in closely behind her and just sat there with the car idling in the driveway. So the woman kind of called out to them and was like, hey, like, do you need help? Like, what's going on? But he just sat in the car, just staring at her, not saying anything. And she was like, what do you guys want? And finally, Hayward said that they were lost. But just as he was about to say something else, the woman's cat tried to get out of her house. So she reached down to grab the cat and she just went back inside and like locked the door
I'd be so
and didn't
freaked
come back
out.
out.
Yeah.
I think she was. And that's why she was like that. I almost think she was like, okay, I think this happened for a reason. Let me go inside.
Yeah, let me go
And
inside.
lock the door.
Yeah,
Like,
put
I think
something between us here.
something about this interaction didn't feel right.
It wouldn't feel right to me.
Wouldn't feel right to me. So Hayward and Patty sat in the stranger's driveway for a couple more minutes, and then Hayward just randomly pulled back out and started heading back the same way that they had come. So now they're backtracking. He never said why he followed this woman or what his plan was, but I guess it's possible that he just needed directions. I also think it's possible that he was going to hurt her. I could see either thing happening.
This is just scary in all ways.
Yeah, it's
I don't
scary.
like it.
Do you remember in school when you just knew that your teacher had a favorite of everything? They would always use the same blue dry erase marker when they wrote on the board, or they would talk nonstop about their favorite element during science. I had a teacher once that literally had a favorite brand of marker. She would only write with specific markers, and if another marker ended up in her classroom, she was TO'd. And honestly, I was probably her favorite student because at the end of the year, I got her that specific brand of marker. Let's talk about their real favorite thing, though, their favorite tissue brand. Kleenex. According to teacher lists, they are the #1 facial tissue trusted by teachers. Kleenex Ultra Soft tissues are silky soft to help prevent skin irritation, and now you can take them anywhere with Kleenex Snap and Go. I absolutely love Kleenex Snap and Go. It's so perfect to have that in your car. I had a cold last week and I was just, honey, my nose was a faucet. I hate to do this to you, but it was disgusting. Drew literally came out of our garage with like 15 of the Kleenex Snap and Goes, and I put those in my glove compartment, and honey, they were easy access. It was so nice knowing that I didn't have to blow my nose into like an old wrapper that I had. Ew. So do the best thing for your kids' teachers and stock up on the ultimate classroom favorite. Maybe it'll make them their teacher's favorite student. They definitely have a favorite. Don't even get me started because, again, you know it was me. For whatever happens next, grab Kleenex. The best summer pieces are the ones you end up wearing on repeat. Comfortable, versatile, and somehow right for almost every occasion. Quince makes it easy to create a summer wardrobe that you'll love, with elevated essentials made from premium materials like European linen, organic cotton, and washable silk, without the traditional retail markup. I love that! Quince's 100% European linen pants, dresses, and tops are the pieces that you absolutely will reach for all summer long. I absolutely love their linen. I have so many pairs of their linen pants, which you can dress up or you can dress down in the summer. Like, say you're going to a nice dinner, you can pair it with like a silk shirt, a really cute necklace, some good, makeup and an updo. Or if you're just looking for a more casual look, you can do the linen pants with like a loose button-up shirt and you still look really chic, kind of like, I don't know, Diane Keaton vibes, I kind of think. Also, it's not just apparel. Quince also offers elevated essentials for your home, from bedding and bath to kitchen essentials and furniture. They have it all, honey. I am a big lover of Quince, and I really do think you will be too. Make your summer wardrobe feel easier. Go to quince.com/morbid for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/morbid for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/morbid. I thought you were saying it's scary in all ways. And so I was waiting.
Like in all ways, it's scary.
It's fucking terrifying. So the woman at the Burger King, like I said, she kind of just gave him general directions to find the market. But now at this point, he's probably forgotten what she even said. He has no idea where he's going, and he's only getting more and more pissed off being lost.
Getting more angry.
Exactly. So eventually they made their way back to Somerville, Georgia, where Hayward stopped the car in the middle of an intersection and just sat there again with the engine idling. So 2 women who happened to be out for a walk went up to the car and said, like, oh, like, do you need any help?
Like you're idling in an intersection.
Yeah, exactly. And he said, no, I don't need any help. I'm letting the transmission cool down.
In the middle of an intersection?
And they were like, okie dokie, we're going to go about our way.
Yeah.
But later, those women would tell investigators that during this exchange, Patty looked very upset.
Oh.
They said that she was huddled up in the passenger seat and she looked like she'd been crying.
Oh, that breaks my heart.
It breaks my heart. The story I told you is gut-wrenching. Multiple other people that same day would report having strange interactions with Hayward that afternoon. And it was especially while he was driving around the Somerville area. He was just stopping at various points to get coffee and asking bizarre questions or doing bizarre things, stopping to use the bathroom and doing the same thing. And then around 3 p.m., he became very suspicious of Patty. And he demanded to know, he said to her, are you 007 or the devil?
Oh, no. Yeah, this is a huge break in reality.
It's a very, very big break in reality. And by that point, it was clear he had come to believe that Patty was either a double agent, this is a quote, a double agent or a black witch, like meaning dabbling in like the black arts.
Yeah.
And at this point, he was determined to, quote unquote, get rid of her.
Oh, no.
So shortly after accusing her of being a witch, he claimed that he asked Patty if she knew where they were. And she answered, telling him that they were in Georgia. And at that point, he absolutely lost it on her.
Oh, no.
He went full break from reality. It's going to get really intense here. If you want to tap out of this, I understand. Here we go. At that point, all of a sudden, he just reached into the back seat, grabbed a knife from the floor, and cut Patty's throat.
Oh.
Just that abruptly. Out
my
of
God.
absolutely nowhere. And he would later tell his cellmate, I was just following orders. I was her supervisor. She was lying, so I terminated her.
Oh, boy.
Like, he
Yeah.
did not have any understanding.
God, this is awful.
It's horrible. But the murder set Hayward Bissell off on what he described to his cellmate as a rampage. Like, we're not even done yet. The autopsy findings would later note that Patty's lower right leg was severed at the knee. Her left hand was severed at the wrist.
Oh, my God.
And, quote, portions of her left lung, liver, and stomach were removed.
Removed?
Removed. The cause of death was the sharp force injury to her neck, meaning the first attack is what killed her, and everything else happened after she'd been killed.
Oh.
So she didn't have to
Experience
that, luckily, but her body did.
Oh.
Now, the autopsy also noted more than 30 stab wounds to her eyes,
Her eyes?
the bridge of her nose, and several sharp force injuries to her
God.
chest. He was gone at this point, like on another level.
Yeah, that's, wow.
And later, when the crime scene technicians processed this vehicle, they found blood on nearly every surface of the interior.
I believe that.
And there were even spots on the exterior of the car.
Wow.
Now, they think the murder most likely took place in the parking lot of the Discount Food Mart, in Fort Payne, Alabama, which is a small town that is just across the border from Georgia. That afternoon, 2 men were leaving the store parking lot, and they saw Hayward outside of the car with his doors open, and they said he stared at them menacingly as they drove past, and just as they were by the side of Bissell's car, he grabbed Patty's head up by the hair, held it up, and they said as though he were proud to display what he had done.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh, this
Just
is really
this,
bad.
This sounds like a horror movie.
I was going to say this literally sounds like a horror. This is awful.
It's just so sad.
Ugh.
Now, obviously, they were shocked and terrified and sped the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Patty's murder was completely senseless, insanely brutal, and both of those factors suggest that Hayward Bissell had become dangerously paranoid at this point. Like we've said this whole time, it reached a breaking point on this day. Now, even what he did in the aftermath shows that he was not operating under a sane mind. He believed that he needed to report what he had done to Patty to his supervisors. So he strapped Patty back into the passenger seat and left that Food Mart parking lot and headed in the direction of Georgia. He drove about 12 miles until he got to the small town of Mentone, Alabama, and there he pulled into a stranger's driveway and just got out of the car.
Oh, God.
Now it was January 23rd. It was one day after he had left, and James and Sue Pumphrey were at their home in Mentone. Multiple people in their neighborhood actually that day had lost power and water from the ice storms that I had talked about. They lost power actually the night before. So James and Sue had spent their afternoon cleaning, collecting, and distributing plastic jugs of water to their neighbors that afternoon. And they got all the water from a nearby natural spring. Like, just went out and did that for their community. Sweet. So when Hayward, a total stranger to them, pulled into the driveway, their 2 dogs started losing it. And James looked out the window to see what was going on, and he said that's when he saw this large man coming up the driveway toward the house. Now, he would have never opened the door if he actually had a very clear view of Hayward, who was completely blood-soaked, but he didn't see that. And again, he also especially wouldn't have opened the door to somebody who had rammed open the gate at the end of the driveway.
Oh, is that what he did?
That's what he did. But
damn,
from where he was standing, James didn't see either of those things. So being the kind and helpful person he was, he stepped out onto the porch to offer this stranger help. Just thinking like, oh, maybe this is someone in my neighborhood
like
that
maybe they
needs
lost
something.
power and I just don't know.
Maybe they heard we're handing out water and they need some, you know? So the first thing that struck James and his wife, Sue, as unusual was how aggravated the dogs were by this man's presence. They were 2 chocolate labs, and they always liked people. They never showed aggression to strangers.
Labs will always tell you.
They will always
tell you if it's a bad person.
And they sure did. James was shocked when Hayward got close, and one of the labs actually snapped at him.
Ooh, see? They don't fuck around.
Like, the dogs had never done that before, and he was like, this makes me nervous.
That's why I love my little girls, because they will always tell you who's a bad person.
Exactly. I love them so much. But from what James could see from the porch, it looked like Hayward had struck back hard at the dog and sent her running back in the direction of the house. So he spun around to see what had happened and called out to Hayward, "Did my dog bite you?" Like, he was like, what the fuck is going on?
Happened?
When he turned back around, Hayward was standing right in front of him and just punched him in the stomach.
Oh my God.
Just out of nowhere. James later told reporters, because just know he survives this attack, which is insane.
Thank goodness.
He said his hands were so big I didn't even see the knife. He stabbed him.
So he had stabbed him.
He'd stabbed
him.
Holy
shit.
Everything happened so fast he didn't even realize that he'd been stabbed until he looked down and saw that blood was pouring out of his stomach.
My God.
So he backed up toward the front door, and Hayward continued walking towards him. But just then, the wife, Sue, called out, and it actually distracted Hayward for a second. So James, screams to his wife to stay where she is.
Oh my God.
But just as he was doing that, the dogs ran out to the porch and they started attacking Hayward,
of course,
protecting
he hurt
their owners.
his person.
I do want to give you a trigger warning for animal abuse. So James and Sue, they were able to close their door and they were able to protect themselves. But now Hayward was left outside with their 2 dogs.
Oh, no.
While he fought off the dogs, James managed to get a rifle and actually fired a warning shot before aiming the gun at Hayward.
Good.
So he gave him a warning. But now Hayward had opened up the front door and was standing in front of the couple at this point. So James later said, "I fired once, then I pointed it at him and it jammed."
Oh my God. Because I was like, honestly, I'm so glad he's armed right now.
He said, "You come any closer and I'll kill you." And then he said that Hayward started hollering, "Don't shoot me," and ran off.
Okay, you just stabbed him.
You just you drove your car through his front gate. You stabbed him. You hurt one of his dogs. You started fighting his dogs. And now you're standing in his living room and he has no fucking idea who you are.
Ugh.
But once Hayward left, the couple was able to survey the damage of what had gone on. James had a large knife wound to his stomach and was still bleeding heavily. And their dogs, Reese and Coco, had been killed. Hayward killed these 2 dogs.
Me?
James actually had to be hospitalized twice due to this attack, and he ended up being out of work for months afterwards. And on top of that, they were incredibly traumatized.
I can't even imagine.
This just happened randomly out of the blue. Sue later said, "I'll never forget his face and I'll never forget his eyes." That's what caught my attention. With everything going on so quickly, his eyes were just unreal. It was like he didn't have a soul.
Oh my God, that's so terrifying.
But they credit their survival entirely to Reese and Coco.
I was literally just going to say, what an awful end to this. But it would have been much worse if those dogs weren't there.
Absolutely.
Those dogs, like, protected
their
the hell
lives.
out of them. Like,
Protected them,
and
saved
stopped him briefly. Like, yeah.
It's insane. I wish that they had, like,
I wish
not
they
been
had
killed.
survived.
I wish they'd survived. But Sue said, if it weren't for our dogs, we wouldn't be here. They saved our lives. They were our angels.
That's going to make me cry.
I know. I hated that I had to include that, especially when you have 2 labs. But Hayward Bissell left the Pumphrey's driveway and headed out to Alabama Highway 117, heading towards Georgia. So he is in this state of mind still. He has killed his girlfriend, who is still in the car.
Still in the car.
He has killed 2 dogs, attacked a man, and is back out on the road. So it was late afternoon when he drove up behind Rhea and Donald Perch. They were a couple driving through Mentone on their way home. Rhea Perch barely even noticed the Lincoln Town car that was riding their bumper until she felt their car get bumped from behind.
Oh, Jesus.
So she figured the other driver must have just hit a patch of black ice because, remember, ice storm.
Yeah.
And she figured, it was just an accident. So she pulled off to the side of the road and started getting out of the car when her husband stopped her and said he would get out to exchange information with the other driver. So she rummaged through the glove compartment as Donald walked around to the driver's side window. And then inside of the car, she felt another jolt, and heard, quote, a sickening crunch as Dawn began to shout. When she looked up, she saw her husband holding on to the hood of the Lincoln that had bumped them, and the driver was speeding off.
Oh my God.
It turned out that the bumper of Hayward's car had struck Donald in the legs, which made it so that he couldn't fall beneath the car.
Luckily,
he was able to grab the hood and pull himself up onto it. So he's
God.
literally holding on to this man's car. He said, I was 2 feet from his face yelling, stop, stop, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? All while he drove me about 200 feet down the road.
What the fuck?
He is holding on to this man's car for dear life. He was just driving with his wife a minute ago. Just
Oh my God.
normal day. So in response to Donald's yelling, apparently, this is what Donald said, Hayward only stared at him and gave him an obscene hand gesture.
What the fuck?
Like, he is not
Beyond.
here right now.
Beyond.
Then he jerked the steering wheel, which sent Donald flying off the
God.
hood of the car to land in a ditch.
Wow.
Months later, Donald recounted the story for a local paper and told them, at first, I thought he was just mad. But when I looked into his eyes, I saw that he was a madman.
Wow.
Now, wildly, Donald never even noticed Patty's mutilated body in the passenger seat.
Because he probably,
Because
he's
how
hanging
would
onto
you?
the hood of the car.
But he told reporter, all I saw was his eyes. I never saw the cut-up girl next to him.
Because he was probably focused directly on the driver, just being like, what the fuck?
And holding on.
Yeah, just
like-
trying to hold on to the car.
So Rhea ran to her husband, who was now lying in the ditch with a broken leg, 2 broken wrists, and a shattered knee. But he waved her off. He was like, you need to get off the highway and you need to go down the highway and flag somebody down for help.
Oh my God.
So she's running down Highway 117, and luckily she locates a man named Walter Pullen, who was working on his field on his tractor that day. He called Lookout Mountain Fire and Rescue, and they then returned to the ditch where Donald was laying. And in the meantime, another couple, James McCrae and his wife, were passing Rhea and Donald's car, and they saw Donald, so they pull over to stop and help. Now, James McCrae sees the state that Donald is in, and he's like, okay, like, you need to call 911 to his wife. Now, that was like the one of many calls that the now DeKalb County 911 dispatchers were getting about this hit and run now. Like, their phones are ringing off the hook. So as Rhea, Walter Pullen, and the McCraes gathered around Donald, waiting for the ambulance to arrive, Rhea notices the Lincoln Town car come back into view, Hayward Bissell's car.
Oh my God.
It was hurling toward them, like speeding toward them. And before anybody knew what was happening, Hayward rammed his car into Walter Pullen's tractor.
Oh my God.
And then slammed the car in reverse and aimed it instead at the group
What?
that now had jumped into the ditch altogether to protect Dawn and to get away from the car.
Oh my God. And it's all the.
You know that feeling when you come home late from work and those puppy dog eyes just pierce right through your soul? Or when you're packing for a trip and your cat refuses to leave your suitcase? Yeah, we've all been there. Pet parent guilt is real. And you know what? It's completely normal. That's exactly why Hill's Pet Nutrition exists. They understand that being a pet parent means being human, with all of our imperfections and daily juggling acts. Hill's science-led nutrition helps you give more love than humanly possible. Whether it's those long work days or trying to balance attention between multiple pets, Hill's Pet Nutrition gets it. They've created science-based nutrition that supports your pet's lifelong health so you can feel confident even when life gets hectic. Because you're only human, there's Hill's. Science does more. Ready to let go of the guilt? Find the right food at hillspet.com/podcast. That's hillspet.com/podcast. This is a paid ad by BetterHelp. I happen to be somebody that struggles with people pleasing. So a lot of times I will build things up and up and up and up and up and then kind of get to the point where I'm like, I need to let this out to this person. Even in 2026, that stigma and just stigma in general can get in the way of a lot of things, like getting support for your mental health. Maybe you've encouraged friends to consider therapy while avoiding taking that first step yourself because you're busy. You're worried about what other people might think, or telling yourself that you should handle this all alone. But therapy with BetterHelp, the world's largest online therapy platform, can be a space to slow down and talk through what's been building before it feels unmanageable. Just take a short questionnaire to identify your needs and preferences, and BetterHelp will handle the initial therapist matching work for you. Their industry-leading match rate means BetterHelp typically gets it right the first time. Feel confident knowing BetterHelp therapists work according to a strict code of conduct and are fully qualified. Don't let hesitation hold you back. Find support with BetterHelp. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/morbid. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/morbid.
It's like strangers just trying to protect this guy, like people working together.
Exactly.
Jesus.
So he paused for like several, what they said were very long seconds.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then put the car in drive and started speeding toward them, these 5 strangers just laying in a ditch together.
God.
They were all
How
sure.
is this real?
That's the thing. It sounds like a horrible, horrible movie. But they were like, okay, we're going to die, like in that moment.
Yeah.
But he swerved at the last minute and took off down
So he
Highway
was doing that
117.
just to terrorize
He's
them.
terrorizing them.
Wow.
Exactly. So now police and emergency responders are making their way to this accident at the scene of the accident scene on the side, of Highway 117. And Mentone's police chief, Ken Busby, he was at a nearby gas station filling up his car for the day. He was actually off duty.
Oh my God.
This was his day off. But he went out to survey the damage from the ice storm and wanted to see what he could help to do around town.
There's just a bunch of helpful people around here.
I know, like community.
Like, jeez.
So while he was paying for his gas, he heard the bolo alert about the silver Lincoln Town car that had fled the scene of a hit and run and was now making its way towards Georgia. And he's like, okay, I think I should get to it. So he hops in his car thinking that he might be able to help now at the scene. And he heads out on the road in the direction of 117. Now, he only made it about a quarter of a mile down the road when he spotted the Lincoln Town car,
Damn.
Hayward Bissell, barreling down the road now in his direction. So Hayward speeds past Bugsby, and Bugsby managed to spot his license plate number and called it into the dispatch.
Nice.
So before he knew it, Hayward found himself at a crossroads in the road. At this point now, he is blocked in all directions by patrol cars because they come running out. And their drivers are all standing around him with their guns drawn and aimed at him. Like, this is a standoff. So he revs the engine as this is happening and tries to drive the car directly in front of them. But he only went a few feet, and one of the officers was shouting, "Don't do it, don't do it." And he revved the engine again, but then stopped the car.
The fuck?
So officers approach the vehicle and they yank the driver's door open. They were fully intending to yank him from behind the wheel, but they struggled to get him. He's a very big guy.
Yeah.
Now, while several officers are struggling to subdue this guy, they're realizing he's covered in blood.
Yeah.
And other people are like, the other officers are realizing that there's a ton of damage to this vehicle. And so one of them went inside to put the gear shift into park. And that's when he saw the bloody knife for the first time and realized that there was another person in this car.
Oh my God.
And this officer said it actually took a few seconds for him to fully process what he was looking at until his brain started to register that it was Patty's brutalized body and human remains. He said, "I thought it was a mannequin at first. It was such an unreal thing to see."
You know, it's so wild that everybody always says that. I thought it was a mannequin. I thought it was a
Always.
doll. And it's like so, and I'm always like, it's never a mannequin. It's never a doll. But I'm like, your first thought would never be,
That's a
that's a
human.
real person.
No.
Like, that's a real thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Especially in
my
the
first
state.
instinct is always like, it's not a mannequin ever. Like,
Right.
it never is. But I'm like, I would think the same thing. Why would I ever think that that's a brutalized human body?
Mm-hmm. Excuse me, I was taking a sip of water. Especially in the state that Patty was in. I
Exactly.
mean, she had literally been decapitated, and he's holding up her head at
Oh
one
my
point.
God.
Like,
That's awful.
it's insane. This story is so scary. So once he was removed from the car, Hayward was actually mostly compliant with the officers.
Wow.
They began to search him, and he was letting them. And Sheriff's Deputy Lamar Hackworth later said his arms were totally covered with blood, as well as his shirt and pants. And this officer also noted that Hayward seemed to be covering his shirt pocket, like he was hiding something in there. So the officer reached for the pocket to check what he was hiding. This is gruesome. And one of the other officers told him to leave it and let them finish searching him at the station. But if Lamar Hackworth had searched Bissell's pocket at that point, what he would have discovered was a large portion of Patty's esophagus.
What?
Her esophagus, part of it, was in his shirt pocket.
I don't know what I thought was in there, but that is not on the list.
No.
What the fuck?
This is, I think, the most brutal case that I have ever heard of. Like, at least one of them.
In terms of,
Doing this one was really difficult.
Yeah, this is horrifying.
So, yeah. As the police began the booking process, investigators started putting together the pieces of what they discovered and realized this wasn't just a hit and run, but that they were actually now dealing with 3 separate crimes, and this one person was behind all of them. So the county district attorney, Mike Odell, told reporters who had assembled for a press brief at this point, quote, "The whole set of circumstances is bizarre. We're having a difficult time sorting it out. We're not sure where the homicide occurred." Like, they were like, we actually have no fucking idea
happened.
What is going on.
Wow.
So once they determined that Patty's murder had occurred in Georgia, the DeKalb County investigators called in the Alabama Secret Service agents to interview Hayward. Now, unfortunately, while he may have been relatively docile during the arrest, he became very, very agitated when they put him in a cell. And the agents from Alabama were doing their best to get information out of him regarding the murder, but really all they could get out of him was that he was on a mission. That's what he kept telling them. And to make matters worse, his unmanageable behavior was becoming kind of a safety concern.
Yeah.
Since his arrest, he was destructive. He was banging his head on the cell, on the concrete wall. He actually broke the shower head off the wall in his cell, and that caused water to spray everywhere. He also tried to flush his pants down the toilet at one point, so the toilet started overflowing. So they were just dealing with, like, everything that you could possibly imagine all at once.
Pure chaos.
Now, the next day, Hayward's bond hearing was held, and it had to be held in the jail after he was determined to be too dangerous to transport. Like, it should have took place somewhere else, but they couldn't move him. They said for his safety and the safety of others, we could not take him into court. But bond was luckily refused by the judge. I think they saw what they were dealing with.
Yeah.
And Hayward was luckily finally going to be transferred to a secure mental health facility. Good. This time, it wasn't voluntary or involuntary.
Yeah, like, you can't sign yourself out.
And you're not coming out. But the sheriff's office would have to wait for a bed to become available.
There it
is.
is.
Like we were just talking about. Like, the fact that they had to wait for a bed to be available for this man, like, come on. So they were, again, trying to piece together what had happened to cause Patty's death and the other attempted murders of the Pumphreys and Donald Perch, but Hayward was not giving them any information. He was talking in circles. He was telling them different conspiracy theories that he had. He told them how Patty was a double agent, all this kind of stuff. So he was given a public defender, and his public defender, Hoyt Baugh, I believe is how you say the name, told the press he is definitely paranoid and definitely hearing voices, which was true. Remember, he's diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. But by the evening of Wednesday, the 26th, now it had been 3 days since his arrest, he had mostly calmed down. He was still slightly agitated. And a few days later, he was able to be transferred to the Bryce Hospital in Tuscaloosa, where he would stay until he was deemed stable enough to go through the trial.
Yeah.
Now, in April, a grand jury indicted him for the attempted robbery and the attempted murder of James Pumphrey and the attempted murder of Donald Perch. And at that point, he pleaded not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. And afterwards, he returned to the hospital, and there he would await word of a grand jury hearing for Patty's murder.
Okay.
But meanwhile, the investigators traced his movements from Alabama back to Georgia, and based on Patty's DNA profile, they connected Patty to the small pool of blood in the Discount Food Mart parking lot.
Wow.
So that's how they officially found their murder scene.
Wow.
Now, after months staying at Bryce Hospital, Hayward was deemed competent enough to leave the hospital, and he was sent to a jail cell in Fort Payne, Alabama that June.
Wow.
I don't know what had to happen there. Maybe he was put on proper medication at that point.
Maybe.
Because remember, he had been taking medication off and on.
Yeah.
But in the time since his arrest, he did become much more manageable and way less destructive. But he was still largely uncooperative. This is crazy, though. By the time he returned to his jail cell, he had lost over 170 pounds.
Wow.
And he refused to leave his cell. He spent nearly 2 years bouncing back and forth between hospitals and county jails while doctors were trying to stabilize him and while investigators and prosecutors were trying to figure out how to go forward in this case. But finally, it took 2 years. In February 2002, 2 years after Patty's murder, Hayward Bissell did go before a judge in Somerville, Georgia, where he pled guilty but mentally ill to the murder. Now, Superior Court Judge Christina Cook Connolly, she accepted the plea, and she sentenced Hayward Bissell to life in prison. Now, the plea of guilty but mentally ill meant that he would spend the rest of his life in a prison suitable for his psychiatric care.
Okay.
Which, thank
Makes sense,
goodness,
yeah.
like that he could finally get some medication so that nobody else has to go through something like this
Rest
again.
of his life,
but
A-okay with me.
need to be in jail.
Yeah.
100%. And the Georgia Department of Corrections is actually required to monitor his mental health and behavior while also managing his medications.
Wow.
So I have to say, it seems like this court system did everything that they needed to.
It seems like it worked out in this situation, like the sentencing and punishment phase.
Exactly. So hopefully with them managing his meds and treatment, he's in a better headspace and is not terrorizing those around him. But
Yeah.
it's really tragic that it took what it did for him to get this kind of help.
It's horrifying.
And it's absolutely tragic that so many people's lives were affected by this when he could have gotten help earlier.
Yeah.
You know, like
some of these people were just like the couple in James and Sue just in their house.
just going about their day.
yeah.
Helping
like,
people
like
too.
everybody, obviously, but it's like he like sought out people to destroy their lives.
He did. But like I said, I got a lot of sources for you guys. So if you or anybody you know is struggling mentally or is in a relationship experiencing domestic violence, we're going to put all these sources in the show notes, but I'll read them out for you now. We have the Schizophrenia and Psychosis Action Alliance. Their website is sczaction.org. And they have a bunch of like education materials and support groups, which is awesome. And then we have the National Alliance on Mental Illness, which is also known as NAMI or NAMI. It's NAMI.org, and they have general resources there for mental health. And then we have the Domestic Violence US hotline number. That's 1-800-799-7233. We also have the Battered Woman's Justice Project. We actually donated to them and we've met with them a few times and they are like an amazing resource. Their website is bwjp.org and they offer free legal help if you're going
that's
through
amazing.
any kind of domestic violence situation. And finally, we have the Center for Domestic Peace. Their website is centerfordomesticpeace.org and they offer support groups.
Amazing.
So again, I'm going to put all of those in the show notes for anybody struggling, anybody that knows anybody struggling, and just like take care of each other because this one made me really sad.
This is a really sad story.
It is.
All around.
And the thing is, like we were saying in the beginning, like you want to think that we treat mental health differently now, but
it's still tough.
Still really tough.
Yeah.
So
long way to go.
Yeah. A long, long way to go. So guys, I love you. We hope you keep listening.
And we hope you
keep
it weird.
But not so weird.
Yeah, just not so weird.
Bye.
In the U.S., there's a break-in every 26 seconds. But when intruders step near, Simply Safe Home Security steps up.
Stop. This is Simply Safe. Police are on the way.
Using AI alerts, U.S.-based live agents help deter break-ins. Simply Safe, no long-term contracts. Save 50% on your new system with professional monitoring at simplysafe.com/SXM or with promo code SXM.
Outdoor deterrence requires a Simply Safe Active Guard outdoor protection plan starting at $49.99 a month. Visit simplysafe.com/licenses for alarm license information. Tennessee 2012.
Talk about regrets. We all know someone who's been in a car accident and said, I don't need to call a lawyer, only to regret it after their pain and damages were worse than expected. When someone hurts you, you deserve to be compensated fairly. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm, fighting for the people for over 35 years. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com/podcast. That's forthepeople.com/podcast. Their fee is free unless they win.